asking too many questions. Thanks, everyone. Quick is the essence. Now, if you could chant the Sanskrit, that'd be nice. And I'm sorry to displace you, Dvijamani. I'm doing it because I'm begging for some mercy. And that's the truth.
Narayanam namaskritya Narang chaiva narottamam Devim saraswatim vyasam Tato jayamadirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is our very means of conquest, we should offer our respectful obeisances unto Lord Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, unto Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author, and unto Srila Prabhupada, the translator, commentator, and our spiritual master. Nashtaprayesha Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistiki. By regular attendance in classes on Srimad Bhagavatam and by rendering devotional service to the pure devotee, all that is inauspicious within the heart is destroyed almost to nil, and loving devotion to the Supreme Lord, who is glorified in transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Now I must say, Maharaj, that one that you usually chant, I don't know by heart. So, can I just...
I didn't hear what you said.
The one you like to say is...
Yeah, just quick.
It's okay? Okay. Okay, we are reading today Srimad Bhagavatam, 7th Canto, Science of God, 12th chapter, The Perfect Society, 4 spiritual classes, text number 8. Kesha Pasadanon Marda Snapana Bhyanjanadikam Guru Stribhir Yuvatibhi Karyen Natmano Yuva Kesha Pasadanon Mardha Snapana Bhyanjanadikam Guru Stribhi Yuvatibhi Karyen Natmano Yuva Kesha Prasadanon Marda Snapana Bhyanjanadikam Guru Stribhi Yuvatibhi Karyen Natmano Yuva Kesha Prasadanon Marda Snapana Bhyanjanadikam Guru Stribhi Yuvatibhi Karyen Natmano Yuva.
Kesha Prasadanon Marda Snapana Bhyanjanadikam Guru Stribhi Karyen Kesha Prasadanon Marda Snapana Bhyanjanadikam Karyen Natmano Yuva. That's disappointing. Okay, do the word for word.
Okay. Maji, you want to chant? No, okay, I can do it. No, forget it. Kesha Prasadana. Brushing the hair. Unmarda. Massaging the body. Snapana. Bathing. Abhyanjana adikam. Massaging the body with oil and so on. Guru Stri Bihi, by the wife of the spiritual master. Yuvati Bihi, very young. Karayet, should allow to do. Na, never. Atmanaha, for personal service. Yuva, if the student is a young man. Translation?
Yeah.
Okay.
And purport.
Okay. So, if the wife of the spiritual master is a young, if the wife of the spiritual master is young, a young brahmachari should not allow her to care for his hair, massage his body with oil, or bathe him with affection like a mother. Please repeat. If the wife of the spiritual master is young,
If the wife of the spiritual master is young,
a young brahmachari
should
not allow her to care for his hair,
should not allow him to care for his hair,
massage his body with oil,
massage his body with oil,
or bathe him with affection like a mother. Purport. The relationship between the student or disciple and the wife of the spiritual master or teacher is like that between son and mother. A mother sometimes cares for her son by combing his hair, massaging his body with oil, or bathing him. Similarly, the wife of the teacher is also a mother, Guru Patni, and therefore she may also care for the disciple in a motherly way. If the wife of the teacher is a young woman, however, a young brahmachari should not allow such a mother to touch him. This is strictly prohibited. There are 7 kinds of mothers: Atma Mata, Guru Patni, Brahmani, Raja Patnika, Denu, Datri, Tata, Prithvi, Saptaita, Matarak Smitaha. These mothers are the original mother, the wife of the teacher or spiritual master, the wife of a Brahmin, the king's wife, the cow, the nurse, and the earth. Unnecessary association with women, even with one's mother, sister, or daughter, is strictly prohibited. This is human civilization. A civilization that allows men to mix unrestrictedly with women is an animal civilization. In Kali Yuga, people are extremely liberal, but mixing with women and talking with them as equals actually constitutes an uncivilized way of life.
Yeah. Somehow or other, this thing is about to run out of juice. Do you have a plug for this thing? I've got 10%, and it was 80% yesterday.
I can see if we have that charger.
If you can find me that charger. Om Ganatharantasya Gana Gana Salakaya Chakshushan Miltan Gena Tasmari Shri Gurave Namaha. So, hey Balaram, we count on, we fully accept, and we count on laws of nature. We have pretty much certainty if we put something down, unless acted on by an outside force, it's not going to go anywhere, right? We're pretty certain if we sit down, we're not going to float off or have to hold on to the chair. We accept the law of gravity. We accept the law of inertia. There's so many laws that what goes down, what goes up must come down. You know, we accept these things. We depend on them. They're facts of life, isn't it? Now, the Vedas, and here's a sidelight, the they now accept that in order for the Rig Veda sanskaras, the Rig Veda, in their original, they said the Vedas were 1,500 years. Then in my lifetime, they've gone from 1,500 to 2,000. Now they say about 3,500. Some people are saying 5,000. So that's an interesting factor. But in the, and I don't want to get too far afield, but the, now they're saying the Rig Veda, which they accepted as the oldest of the Vedas, and is full of how to do sanskaras. And it explains the detailed arrangements to make these big havans, you know, shaped like dolphin and half moons and chakras. And we're talking big size, you know. One of those havans can be as big as this room, so, or bigger. So, and to have multiple havans, you know, and they all have to line up with the astrological, the astronomical alignment of the planets. It's a very complicated thing. They must have known sophisticated geometry. They're even daring to say, this is a guy at University of Chicago. They're even daring to now say that that geometry didn't come from the Greeks, it came from the Arabs. And the Arabs didn't get it, it came from India. So, because there's many Vedas that are missing, you know. So my point being, they knew about the sophisticated laws of this world. And they built a society on it, just like we have a society built on. Now, what if, because the Vedic society, because this is talking about the perfect society, what if the Vedic society, which it is, was deeply sophisticated and didn't just talk about physical laws, but talked about laws of human nature? I'll give you an example. I'm going to give you a few more. I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. If you take a stick of butter, suppose Ramapati Prabhu is doing an experiment, and suppose he concludes, if I just freeze a block of butter hard enough, then it won't melt in the association. Just get it hard enough. Suppose he had some super duper sub-zero machine, and that butter was frozen. Okay, you with me? I mean, forget iceberg. This is a, you know, sub-zero. Now, would that butter eventually melt when it associated with fire? Would it? Take longer, but it would melt. Therefore, we can accept that it is a truth. It is a law that butter mixed with fire, next to fire, will melt. So the point is, the Vedas know these things. And they're telling you, if you want to create, you know, it's such a wonderful presentation, the Vedic presentation, because it's not just telling about the individual molding of character. It's individually and societal. That's a word, isn't it? And societal, you know, In other words, you've got the individual, but a society is a composite of individuals. So what does that mean? There's laws that drive societies. And the Vedas understand. Because here's the basic premise. People say, I'm looking at the time. Before I forget, just as a sidelight, and it's talking, just to talk, there are so many of these evangelical, preachers that just fell down and became, so many of them, most of them. One of the only ones who never got involved in any scandal was Billy Graham. Some of the olders of us have heard, even you may have heard of Billy Graham, right? Wasn't a bad guy, actually. As mundane, meat-eating fanatics go. But they asked him one time, he's dead now, I think. He's gone to his just reward in heaven. But he said that, how did you make it? He's being interviewed by Time magazine or something. What was your secret? And he came right back with an answer. Somebody sent me the link. He said, I'm never alone with women, and I don't handle any money. Never handled money. Never touched it. It's like a nice sannyasi rule, isn't it? And never, he said, if they insisted, they want to confide, they want to open their heart, he said, I always kept my door wide open. And he made it, He was married, and he made it through. So he understood the concept of, fire will make butter melt. It's just a matter of time. So the name of this chapter is A Perfect Society. And people say, well, I'm a practical person. What is the use of all this philosophy and Bhagavad Gita? I want to make the world a better place now. You ever hear that? I hear it. I want to make the world a better place now. And all this philosophy, and you've just gone inside your head and you're ignoring the real world. Hey, welcome back. It's all right. He works hard. And you're ignoring the real world. But unless you understand, like another law, unless you understand that within this body is that you're not the body, you're the soul. You're the pure spirit soul inside. Then you're not going to care. You're not going to have a society where people are interested in internal purification. I don't care, if there's no soul inside, what's being purified? What's you follow me? If there isn't the soul that's covered, then there's no question of the need of a process to uncover the soul. So you have to understand the principles, just like you have to understand that there's Supreme Ishwar. You can't put a square peg in a round hole. If you want to go with the flow, then guess what? The flow already has a determinate course. So you have to understand, I remember Prabhupada said, he was with Sudam. And in morning arrival at the LA temple, it's one of those famous scenes, completely blissful. Devotees take over the airport. And Sudam said later on to Prabhupada, when I walk with you, thank you very much, by the way, Govardhan. When I walk with you, I feel proud. And Prabhupada said, you can feel proud. Not arrogant, but a devotee feels that I'm proud, but by the grace of my spiritual master, I know who is who and what is what. Devotees know who is who and what is what. And we know that the real goal of life, it's a law. There's like oil and water. They don't mix. Can you make, who do I pick on? Prabhu. Sureshwar Prabhu. Can you make oil and water mix? What, you lazy? Just shake it hard enough. Like they've got those that makes paint mix. Zzz, you know? Put it in one of those things that makes paint mix. Oil and water gonna mix? They'll look good for a minute or two, but they'll separate in due course. It's a law. So we are spirit soul, and you need to know that, because you're never going to be satisfied. You're never going to be happy. If you have, like I love it, that and I'm not anti-marriage. I was married. We've made so many nice householders. Don't make me repeat. And those nice householders understand this, that if I have an agitated mind, well, let's say 1 times +1 plus 1, the number, the volume increases, correct? That's another law. I have 1 agitated mind. I add another agitated mind. Will I have no agitated minds? What do you think? Will I have no agitated minds? Ah, you missed that part, didn't you? I'll have 2 agitated minds. So one person gets married, they marry another person, now you get 2 agitated minds. And you think, well, we're not really happy. I wasn't happy alone. I'm not happy with my wife. What bright idea comes into the mind? What do you say? Let's have some kids. So 1 agitated mind plus another agitated mind plus another agitated mind, is that going to equal no agitated minds? Help me out. No, I mean, just, wake up. It's a law. It's the way the world works. So to have a society that's based on the understanding, core, bedrock, foundational principle, that there is a supreme and there's a design to things. And getting in harmony, working with instead of against that understanding that there's a supreme, and he's the supreme controller, and there's a design to everything. then I have to comport to that design if I'm going to be happy. It's as simple as that. And to find a to find a society that understands that and understands that's for the individual, and you've got to have a society that understands that for the whole societal structure. Then you've got everything else is skimming along the surface and is never going to produce happiness. I mean, you've got communism, you've got democracy, you've got hedonism. I mean, there's so much stoicism. There's so many views of societal structure. But what are they based on? They're not based on a basic law. What's the basic law? So we should appreciate the value of the Vedic Varna and Ashrama. It's not a light thing. It's a cornerstone presentation of the Vedas. Prabhupada hammered on it again and again and again. And people may not like it. I mean, there's a sentence Prabhupada says in this, and no offense, Mataji, but this is going to rattle people's cages. Was it today or yesterday? In Kali Yuga, people are extremely liberal, but mixing with women and talking with them as equals actually constitute an uncivilized way of life. Now that is one heavy sentence. Doesn't mean better or worse, but it means there's a role for women, there's roles for women, there's roles for men. We're not trying to keep down a woman's creative intelligence and individuality. There's so many avenues. And in Kali Yuga, everything's scrambled up. But the idea that it's all one, so my point is, and there's not envy, and there's not, I'm looking for another word, but dissatisfaction with one's station in life. Because they understand these laws in Bhagavad Gita. What is the use of reading that book and I want to do something practical? Suppose you build a building and you don't understand the basic principles of carpentry. I had an uncle who built Uncle Chuck, my same old Uncle Chuck, he came through again. He built an annex by himself to his house, like a little, like a study or a man cave or whatever. He thought, how complicated can it be? So he built the thing by himself. I think his son helped him. And it leaked. It leaked horribly. He could never use it. It always leaked. You got to understand some carpentry. You're trying to build a structure. So unless they understand those core principles, you can't build a societal structure. You dimwit. Your Uncle Chuck. It's going to leak. So where was I? So the point is that one of the many great gifts to humankind is the presentation of Varna and Ashram. Adapted to time, place, and circumstance, of course. Everything's. But the basic core principles of 4 Varnas and 4 Ashramas, they avoid the envy. Here's another core principle from Bhagavad Gita. And if you don't understand it, things don't work. Who put me where I am? My station in life? Why was I born here? How do I rail against the cold-hearted God who's cast me in this position? What is that poem I like? Rage, rage, rage against the dimming of the light. Well, who put you there, you nitwit? Other than Dravida. Trijamani, who put me here? I put myself here. What is that old? It's an old line. We've found the enemy, and the enemy is us. I put myself here. So if I put myself by my own activities, who do I have to blame? Can I blame God? Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, you can't blame me. Can I blame society? Can I blame my mother? Who can I blame? It's my fault. If it's my fault, and if my activities will determine, my activities alone that will determine my next life. And I've got a next life. You can't dodge it, buddy. You can commit suicide. Is that the end of the road? You're right back facing it again. You got to deal with it. So someone who understands these laws, who understands the principles of Bhagavad Gita, both individually via the 4 ashrams and collectively via the 4 varnas, can make progress without envy. I'm born a Sudra, there's the higher up you go, if we want to use this higher and lower view, more responsibility and more austerity is expected of a Brahmin. You want to be a Brahmin and have people call you Panditji? Well, you darn well better get up early and practice celibacy. And there's, grihastha celibacy, have kids within marriage. Be a gentleman. But you've got to understand these things. And then you're not envious. You think, okay, I put myself, if you understand Bhagavad Gita and don't brush it off as useless armchair philosophy, but you understand too, that I'm spirit soul, I'm eternal. And what I do now determines where I am next. And therefore I better act properly. Stop wasting my time with envy and anger at others and get about my business. And because what is my business? Based on the oil and water principle, which I just described, what is my business in this world? Okay, but what's the means of doing that? It's a word that devotees use so often. And Nila will know, and it starts with a P. Purify. Devotees understand. Hey, I'm not this body, I'm the soul, and I'm driving on it because it's the resting point of the whole validity and value of the Varnashram Dharma. You got to have a society that moves people. And it's I was talking about last time, that great wheel of Dharma, the great wheel of Dharma. Look at the cosmos all rotating around the pole star, and it all comes down to our individual life rotating around the wheel of Dharma. And if we're all pushing the wheel of Dharma and not envious or angry about our station of life, again, because we put ourselves there, it's our fault, and everybody does their duty for purification as described by the Vedas to purify themselves so they can get a better birth next time and eventually go back home, back to Godhead. All of a sudden, you got everybody rowing in the same direction and happy and self-satisfied and not envious. That sound like a good place to you? Huh? Sound like a good place? And where are they now? We're almost finished. So, bringing it home, zzz, focusing it in. What are we about? We are about purification, doing our part of that whole, everyone putting their shoulder against the wheel of Dharma. That's what we're about. Now, my grandson is in a very good school. He worked his way in there, credit to him. And his mother works hard to pay for it. And it's Cathedral High School, and it's a Catholic school. But when all the parents, and they're rich people, and they got tons of money to put their kid in that school. And my daughter works her tail off to have the money to put that kid in that school. But that's another thing. The point I wanted to make was this. So all the parents are there, and they're used to getting what they want. And the teacher, and it's the first year school, what do they call it, freshmen. And they're all sitting there, I don't know how many kids, all the parents are there. And the guy says, the headmaster of the school says, here's what we do here. He says, we craft character. That's what we do. They've got one of the sports, that's one thing, We'll make it good sports, We'll get you, into a, whatever you call it, what do you call those? An elite school. We'll get you into an elite college. We'll do our part. Huh? Ivy League, yeah, thank you. We'll get you into an Ivy League college. But that's not what we're about. He said, we are about creating character. We are crafting young people into character. So that's what we do here. So you have to understand that. Now, what does that mean? It means if your kid's a punk, he said it nicely, but if your kid's a punk, if your kid gets into drugs, if your kid is rebellious and, we want intelligent, creative individuals, sure. But if you just got a spoiled brat who's used to getting his own way, he said it nicer, that's not what we're about. We'll throw him out. We will throw him out. And you cannot come here and say, well, I'll build you a new football, stadium. Just let my kids stay. It's not what we're about. It's not our mission. So if that's what you want, if you want to craft your child into a good individual, hey, you're in the right place. And if you want to just check the box and get him into Harvard and think you can buy your way in there, that's not what we're about. You're in the wrong place. Now, we are an ashram. That's what we are. And what are we meant to do? That oil and water principle, we're meant to take individuals and help them realize their real self and help them advance to become Brahmins. And in case of you folks, you know, the temple inmates, as Prabhupada would say, we're into making you brahmacharis. That's what we're about. I'm not here, we are not here to fill this building with as many individuals as possible. That's not what we're about. If you don't come to the morning program, hey, you guys all are, and this is where I wanted to get, you guys all agreed when you move into the ashram that you would chant japa in the temple room after Tulsi Puja. What did we ask for? Is it an hour we asked for? Maybe it's even 45 minutes. Because what are we about? What are we about? What is the ashram about? It's about purification. It's about building character. If you want to become a nice brahmachari, and you want to become a Brahmin, which means you'll become happy in this world, that's what we're about. And we will help you do that. We are meant to, and we know how to do it. We've been doing it 50 years, we've been doing it. We know how to make character. But you want to jerk around and fool around on the internet when you're supposed to be chanting japa or create your own program. That's not what we're about. Square peg in a round hole. So if you want the result, you have to recognize the laws and you have to follow the process. Well, that's about as heavy as I'm ever going to get with you. So it means something. And here's the last thing. Here's the last thing. Because why? Oh, what they used to, who is it? Blake, who was a real sense enjoyer. He called the priests, and he may have been right. He called them men in black, muttering, "No, you can't do this, you can't do that, just There was one devotee who always gave class very heavy. He was always in the hectoring mode, And Rabindra Sarup, wonderful Rabindra, said, I listen to class by him, and it makes me want to go out and sin, just to spite them, So that's not, we're not men in black muttering. Men in black muttering. No, we're not control freaks. We care about people. And we want to find intelligent young people. And they're out there. There's smart people out there that say, enough of this. So I want to become a devotee. I want to become spiritually realized. Okay, so they have, I forget the name. What are one of those big poles? But this one starts with an M. Yeah, like a Gallup poll. Anyway, it's one of the really, really big ones. It starts with an M. And they were surveying what makes people happy. You'd think they would have looked into it earlier, but feeling that their life has value. Not that they just stuffed their face and drove around in a red Ferrari honking the horn. But their life meant something, that they made the world a better place. And that their life had meaning. I'm not wasting my time. I'm not just treading water. Are we meant to just tread water? And then wait till time finally chips away and we're old and enfeebled and can't remember our name? What? That's life? And you went to Disneyland once or twice? I mean, come on. That our life means something and that we made the world a better place. And you think about what Krishna consciousness gives people. People get hit with death of their beloved son or beloved wife or husband. I mean, this is a rough and tumble place. People get dropped down the shaft. Your loving wife dumps you for her dentist. Sucks. So, presentation of the Vedic system of Varna and Ashram is profoundly deep, profoundly logical. It is what the world is crying for. And if we take it up seriously, we will become happy. Happy now, and in a better spot in our next life, and go back home, back to Godhead. So the laws presented in the Vedas are real and essential. And as a society designed around those is the truth. Okay, thank you for letting me get that off my chest. Hare Krishna. Thanks, Prabhu. And we should end. And thank you for tolerating me. We may be getting the solution. A powder I took in India. It cured me last time. Yeah? We'll see. Thank you, Drew.